I'm Farhan Dalla, transformational trainer, and welcome to Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast, an invitation to take the journey towards your deepest self. It is my intention to inspire you to connect, move, and meditate. We'll tap in, tune in, and dive in, and together learn and reflect from authentic, real, and transformative conversations. Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast. My two guests hold a very special place in my heart. They are two close family members. I'd like to introduce you to my very own niece, Amira Dalla, and her amazing spouse, Dana Purkis. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. We're so glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Well, this is exciting for me. I've never had family on my show before, and I've been thinking about the idea of having you both on for some time. And as soon as I was ready to jump into season 3, I immediately reached out, and I'm so happy you said yes.
I mean, when Guncle calls, we answer. Is
Yeah.
that the appropriate response?
That would be the appropriate response. Okay, so I want to do my introduction to you justice by reading your fabulous bios. Starting with Amira, pronouns they, she, is a privacy and security specialist, where their focus has always been on keeping communities safe among emerging digital threats. Amira is a trained facilitator that works with organizations on strategy development, teaches at universities around the world, and has spoken at hundreds of events in the last few years. With a focus on community care, Amira has been an active organizer and builder for the 2S LGBTQI plus and BIPOC communities among various organizations. In their spare time, they help women, queer folks, and people of color in career coaching and salary negotiating. After living in New York City for 14 years, Amira is excited to return to Toronto, yay, with their family and is relearning their way around the city. Something I hope to help you with, by the way.
You are doing a great job. Yeah.
So glad to have you back. And next, we have Amira's lovely spouse, Dana. Dana, pronouns they, them, is a writer who is committed to using their words to showcase their love of travel and platforming queer communities. In their day job, they are a content manager at a travel company. Outside of that, you can find them advocating for the 2S LGBTQI plus communities through their organizing, writing, and events. They are a Philly native who lived their dreams of being a writer in New York City and now calls Toronto home. On the weekends, you can find them at the dog park with their dog Rummy, following their drag aspirations or doing something related to musical theater. Welcome again. All right. I wanted to have you on this show first and foremost to celebrate your love and to let you know again that I will always champion for you and your relationship. To
You-
both, to both Amira and Dana, I am referred to as Farhan Chacha, which in my language means uncle. I am also their very proud Guncle, which is short for gay uncle. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And recently, you two became an aunt.
Yes, we did.
Yes, to my other niece Azra's son Jaden. And it kind of got me thinking that, okay, there is a word for gay uncle, but is there a word for a lesbian or trans aunt? I couldn't think of it. And so I actually looked it up and it doesn't exist.
No, we might just adapt Guncle, to be quite honest. I think I could fit a Guncle mode.
Yeah.
All right, good. So now we have more gunkles in the
We should
family.
make one up, though.
I think so. I don't think it's
Yeah.
fair, right? That gay people have a gay uncle title, but there isn't one for the rest of our folks in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
That
just
has to change.
definitely has to change, or like I think some of us would just go uncle, I guess,
Yeah.
instead of aunt.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah. Land does not have a vibe.
No.
Well, I tried a few and they almost sounded a bit vulgar. And I thought, I can't say this on this podcast or ever for everyone. So I'm just not going to say it. But anyway, I'll let you guys use your imagination. Anyway, Dana, welcome to our family. It's been wonderful to have you become a part of our clan. And I'm so honored that you both are bringing your amazing selves and your incredible queerness to our family. I especially appreciate the fact that we have a growing queer representation. Yeah, as for many years, it was sort of a lonely and isolating experience for me. So I love the way that our family is growing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
So, Amira, I want to say that you and I had a very amazing, incredible, and transformative conversation on a certain December 31st, 2020, New Year's Eve, when we went for a walk, and you declared your truth to me. What was it like to come out to me on that day?
Wait, can I just like cut to when you responded when I declared my truth? You responded with, I know I've been waiting. Like that should be the story because that in my mind is the story. And I loved it because it was no, um, for me, I always think about that conversation as like no hesitancy from you, just like, what do you need now? Uh,
Yeah.
like, I'm so here and I've been waiting for this moment. And I just remember, like, when I think back to that moment, I think back to that special part of it. But yeah, I was in Toronto that year, which I think was years ago now, with the intention to, you know, come out with my truth to the family member, and you were top of the list.
Well, I'm glad I could be there for you and always will be. And will always remind you of that. What has been your overall experience since you came out? What has changed for you?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer this without at least giving some context. Like, it took me a very long time to come out, to be clear. And I spent decades kind of knowing I was queer. Well, knowing, but not, but still in that sort of I need to uphold the expectations of society, my family, the people around me, and like, why was I different? I could pretend to not be queer. I could pretend to do these other things. I did that for decades of my life. So when I came out, it was actually for me like a bubbling moment. I had reached a point where I was like, I can't hide anymore. Like I'm done hiding. I've done it for 2 decades, or more at that point. And I think for me, I often think about a conversation my brother and I had when I was coming out. He's like, "You've known this for like 30 years or so. Like you've experienced it, you've gone through your phases. You're now at the point where you're like, I'm bursting with queerness and like needing to be out." And he's like, all of us are just coming along and learning. Some of us are coming along and learning right now. And so you're at a pace where you're like, okay, it's out there, it's done, let's go. And so I was like, okay, this is like, once it was out, I was like, cool, let's all move on. Like, we're good. I finally did this thing. We can keep going. I'm so excited to have the support and love of my family. So for me, I think it was sort of that phase of it had just been a really long time. And by the time I was ready to come out, I was like, okay, I'm going to throw some rainbows in the air, and that's it. Like my family is what I care about. I want to make sure they feel comfortable and their understanding of where I'm at. And then it was sort of just this like relief that I could finally actually be me. And I think a lot of queer people talk about like a rebirth after you come out. You
Mhm.
finally have this moment where you're like, I get to do, I kind of start my new life energy. And I think that for me was very true. Like I started my new life where I was like, I can actually be me without the challenges or thoughts of society or others being like, this is not who you should be.
I remember there's a scene in Love Simon where Simon comes out to his mom and she says, "And now you can exhale and you can be yourself." And I've never forgotten that line because what you said describes exactly that feeling and I can relate to that. How about you, Dana? What was your coming out experience like? And I don't know really anything about it. Is there any parts of it you'd like to share?
Yeah, I feel like I've had a couple coming out experiences. First in high school, um, in the very beginning, I came out as bisexual, because I was like too scared to admit that I was fully a lesbian, fully queer. Um, and my family really didn't understand. Like they loved me, but they thought that meant that I was trans. Like they really didn't understand sexuality and just anything. Um, but they came around eventually and it was okay. What's been harder is in recent years, coming out as trans, using they them pronouns. There's, definitely been some struggles there, which, just people not really understanding, needing time and just, a lot of different things. So that's honestly like still a process. It's been a couple years, but as far as like, community and chosen family, those are the ones I hang on to and who like love you no matter what.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think what Amir and I experienced as well as you is when you come out, you kind of have to let your loved ones come to know the new version of you, the parts that they haven't known. And that requires reframing, rechanging all their dreams they had for you, all the ways that they've seen you. So that takes an adjustment, and I can certainly understand and relate to all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dana
Um,
and I talk about this all the time. It's like there is no one coming out. Like I
right.
think as queer people, you are coming out constantly throughout life, especially as like we are open to understanding ourselves and changing and finally when we're feeling ourselves, like where that's taking us. So
Yeah.
truthfully, like we are constantly in
We're
evolution of
constantly in evolutionary stages,
defining
absolutely.
ourselves as we continue to learn ourselves.
And I think that the degree of which you come out gets better as you get older, and the universe definitely gives you opportunities to come out even louder and prouder. And I talk about that in my first episode with my experience on Family Feud, because there's coming out to your family and your loved ones, and then there's talking about yourself in front of a live studio audience with a camera that's going to air a show that's going to go all across Canada and worldwide through social media. And you're like, yeah, there's definitely no coming back now, which is fine. But what I learned from that experience, and I talked about in the first episode, is like you think that you're comfortable with yourself to a certain degree, and you think, yeah, I'm cool. And then you're presented with a bigger opportunity to step into your wholeness. And those opportunities really help you to step into your truth to even greater degrees. So, I look forward to that evolutionary process and to continue to support it, whatever it looks like for the two of you.
I
That's
love
what
that. Thank
support
you.
looks and feels like.
I
Yeah.
that I feel like the more that any of us step into our truth, like you kind of just gain a little bit more confidence, you become a little bit more you, as that journey continues, like kind of like you said, you get a little bit louder maybe because you're just becoming more comfortable, more confident. And it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. So growing up, did you guys have any queer idols? Like when I grew up, there was no one like that I can think of, right? There was no social media, there was no Queer Eye, there was no television shows with queer characters. Sometimes there were assumptions of characters that could be, gay. So I didn't have any queer idols, but did you have any growing up? And also, do you have any queer idols now?
Ooh, Lister?
Yeah, thinking about my queer idols growing up, I feel like that's a little difficult. I think my queer idols growing up were like any queer person I saw on TV. So I think first in middle school I saw Rent and like Angel like totally became a queer idol. The cast of The L Word for all the flaws of the show and all. At the time, like those were my idols, and I think those were really the only ones I knew. Um, as well as one other person who was the only other queer person in my high school. And they were a couple years older than me, and they were I think like looking back, I think they were a little bit my idol, which I wouldn't have realized at the time. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, I kind of looked up to her actually. Um, so yeah, I think those are my career idols growing up, but mainly any queer representation I saw on TV, no matter how trashy it was, that
Yeah.
was I idolized it.
Right. And how about now? I know you had an opportunity to meet Elliot Page.
Yes. Gosh, yes. Elliot Page, absolutely. I mean, I feel like now I have so many queer idols. Absolutely Elliot Page, but RuPaul, literally any drag performer, any queen, king thing, I idolize them. I think, there's so much power in drag. Um, and creativity and art. So I just love that. There's also, I mean, just so many people. Janet Mock, James Tom, he's a comedian. Murray Hill. Yeah, Murray Hill. But yeah, there's really, really a lot of queer idols now.
Right. Amira, how about yourself?
Yeah, I have to say honestly, like I don't remember many queer presences in my life when I was younger, and I think part of that, Farnbridge, is what you're talking about, is like there weren't any on TV or in culture when I was growing up, and I remember even when I was in high school and stuff, like no one was actively out, like it wasn't a space yet where people could be, or people felt safe to be. People like myself were like hiding behind the scenes, like grasping at what we could. Took a date to my prom, like did all those things, but like no one knew, right? It was just me.
You
I
took
was,
a female to
I
your.
did.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What was
And
that like? Quickly, if you just wouldn't mind telling us a bit about that.
yeah, I mean, this is the hard part when it comes to like queerness in the closet is like a lot of my partners were like best friends,
Hmm.
and that was like how they were presented to my family growing up. And so like there was no issues because they were like, oh, this is just your best friend. And they wouldn't think twice, or at least that was my perception. Like they wouldn't think twice about anything, and I could get by with that. So yeah, it was like I took up my best friend at that time, who we were in a long relationship. And I remember like that to me was so joyful, but it was something only I could hold, you know? It was something where like when we took our prom photo, I was like, no one's gonna see this, like holding each other. I'll have this for the men's. And it wasn't a big deal because everyone was like, oh, you're best friends. That's totally makes sense. And for me, it was so much more. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of that queer presence. And I am also very fortunate to have you in my life as a queer
Hmm.
presence and like your community that I could look up to and idolize. But I remember when I was younger, the first time I ever saw Tracy Chapman perform. And that was a life-turning moment for me, that I hold on to this day because that was the first time I ever saw someone who I was like, that looks and feels like what I want to be,
Hmm.
what I want, who I am. And even at that time, like a whole bunch of artists were queer and they couldn't be out queer. I think about all the media and the way they like harassed people being like, are they gay? Are they not gay? Like your Ricky Martin, talk about one of
Hmm.
your idols.
Yep.
Like the sagas of that for even the queer folk that existed at that time. So yeah, Tracy Chapman was like a huge life changer for me growing up, and like they were always my little secret. I still don't know Tracy's actual pronouns, but like, and they I don't know if they've ever really clearly stipulated those, but like, yeah, that was like something I could hold every time I saw Tracy perform, or I'd rewatch the videos. I'd be like, my world would change energy. And I think for me growing up, like all of the idols Dane mentioned are similar idols. We follow a lot of the same people, but we also follow a lot of local idols, I think, in our community. So we just moved to Toronto. We are definitely identifying some of our idols here and people we really admire. I think we're
Selena Vile,
Selena Vile, drag queen, Gorge,
George.
Gorge is like a drag king. Like we
Hmm.
really love local drag things, kings, queens really stepping up and doing their work. And I think about like in New York, we had a lot of local queer power that we followed that I really idolized. So like Queen Jean, Raquel Willis, Peppermint, like a whole bunch of the queens and queers that held down the gender liberation programming in DC yesterday that continued that work. So I have like the big idols, and then I have really local idols that I just love to follow and actually actively support where I can.
Yeah, and speaking of drag brunches, I attended my first ever drag brunch with you guys, which was so much
That is
fun.
wild. How was
Wasn't
that
that
your
great?
first drag brunch?
That
Because
was my first drag brunch.
Dana and I are like, we want to plan drag brunches. So we need you to get more familiar with them so you can join the crew.
You know what? I would love that because I had such a good time and I got to go with you guys and my other nieces and nephews. So to experience that with my family is something that I never thought I would ever do. So to have that opportunity was life-changing in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to continue to feel a deeper bond with all of you guys, especially you two, so we could share that queer experiences, which I know there's going to be much more to come.
Yeah,
So,
it was so special and
Yeah.
so
yeah.
many more to come. And I just love that that was your first drag brunch. And then Glad Day. That's just
Yeah.
so special all around.
Yeah, so the Glad Day is a bookstore in Toronto where they have drag brunches on the weekend. So shout out to Glad Day. We will be back.
It's true. I will also say that like that was special for all of us, and also I think unique and special within the queer community
Mm.
to like be able to go with like a drag brunch with my spouse, my two siblings, and their spouse, and you. Like that's a full family affair
Right?
that also I never imagined I would get or have, and I imagine many queers are not in a space to do that. So it's really special that that exists and can happen.
Yeah, and if it can happen in our family, it could happen in others as well, right? So hopefully this will instill some hope in some people who are feeling a bit isolated from their family members. So you'll know when it's right for you to come out, and you'll know when it's right for you to go to a drag brunch with your family, but all of that is possible, and we're living proof of that. So here's to many more queer moments for
Yeah.
us. So guys, I want you to share, because I love this, how you two met.
Okay, I'll start. So we met right at the beginning of COVID in 2020. I was living alone. I had just moved down from Harlem to a one-bedroom apartment. And I spent much of the pandemic, we were both in New York, sorry. And I had spent much of the early parts of the pandemic completely isolated alone, as one did in New York at that time. And so I had met Dana online while I was like looking for queer communities and friends and people also just trapped in New York, like feeling the isolation.
Hmm.
And Dana at that time was running an organization. You can tell the organization though.
Yeah, I was running an organization called Queers for a Cause. We were really like a local fundraising group. We mostly, especially in the beginning of COVID, mostly did virtual events, just try to bring the community together and raise funds for really nationwide like queer spaces. Um, and then, I think it was like later in the year, we started to do some outdoor events, and one of them was a fitness class, like a workout class, that was outside. It's going to be calisthenics, so just like body weight workouts. Um, and it was the end of November, so it was actually freezing. It was our last outdoor event. Um, and Amira came a little bit late, and I had them, do start with laps because they missed it. And, we just started hanging out. And it really was, just for friendship at first. Like neither of us were really looking for anything. Kind of like Amira said in the beginning, we were looking for connections. I moved to New York right before COVID, and I really didn't know anyone. So it was just trying to find community, and it just grew.
Yeah, you missed some key details.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say, Amira, if you could fill in the blanks,
Like, I know
there's more.
I missed the hooks. Yeah,
There's definitely more.
I got details. Don't worry.
Please spill the tea.
Okay, so for clarity, Dane had run like 4 outdoor workout classes at this point. So I would think I was on the last one. And so each class had like a dozen people. And so I was like, oh, cool. It's like a big community situation. And as they mentioned, like it was really cold that day, which I guess deterred a lot of people. So when I showed up, there was only one other person there. So it was like me and this other person. And yes, I was really late. I guess like train delays, hesitancy on going. I don't know what it was. I'm like, is this smart? Like, New York's kind of like this epicenter. Like, I'm going to do an outdoor workout at the Brooklyn Museum.
It was freezing.
It was freezing. And so I show up there, and then the first thing this person tells me to do is like, oh, go do laps. And the steps of the Brooklyn Museum, if anyone has ever been to them, they're like totally lopsided. Like some are like this, then they go like this, and then they're like this, and then they go back down to this. Like they're not the
It's
type,
safe.
They're
It's
not
safe.
even, in other words, right? They're
like
just.
no one should be running on these steps. And so I get there. This is like my
So this
first.
is a queer, safe community.
It's a queer safe community, unless you're a klutz like me.
Um,
And so I get there and I'm running and I'm obviously like intimidated. I've never met this person.
mm,
I'm like wanting to impress them with my runs around this like museum steps. Like I'm active, I'm good. And to this point, like I've never really worked out. So for me, showing up to this class was like, I was literally like, I'm just going to do something out of the blue. And then, as can be expected, as a klutz like me, at the top of the stairs, I ended up falling. And I was just like, it was too much for me. I fell, I looped down, literally flew down the stairs. And surprise to me, Dane's at the end there just catches me in their hands. So our first meeting was actually Dane literally catching me in their hands. And I just like jump up. They're like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally okay. Let's continue this workout." And like to be clear, you couldn't tell from my knees, but they were bleeding. Like I had blood going down my legs. Like my knees were all scraped. Like I was definitely in pain. And then I continued to do a full 1 hour workout,
I didn't
a
know.
1 hour workout. And Dane's the type
With
of
bleeding knees.
fitness and coordinator who's like, "Oh, how does that feel?" And I'm like, "Totally fine. Like, I'm doing okay." And they're like, "Great, let's make it harder." And I was like, "I hate this
They
person."
were just like, I'm fine.
Like, I
It's easy.
genuinely was like, "I don't want to ever come
You know,
back."
this is starting to sound very Hallmarkish now that I'm hearing you talk
I think
because
we often joke, and
it
my mom jokes a lot
sounds like
about,
very, I mean, you and I, Amira, have seen a lot of Hallmark movies in the past, and the plot is sounding very
yeah. I love
Hallmark.
Dane's sly look. Like they knew they didn't tell the plot that they were being so coy. They're like, "I'll give you the PG version." And I was like, "No, no, no. This whole story has a story."
Right, go
Um,
on.
So then after that 1 hour workout class, I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
And then Dane's or just kept running events that were not workout classes. So bake sales, like hangouts. And so I started going to those and we got to meet each other and get to know each other.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, one more point of this whole relationship that I love in the story development was that first date. So, what was that? Um, and how did that go down?
Do you want to start again?
Okay, so for the first date, it wasn't a date, but I guess it was a date. Um,
Was it a date that you didn't know was a date, or was it a unassumed date?
I
'Cause,
I think to this day, both of us claim we did not think it was supposed to be a date.
it wasn't
okay,
supposed to be a date. Yes.
But,
okay,
lines were crossed.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We were just hanging out as friends. I literally skateboarded over to Amira's place, brought nothing. I thought it was just a chill hang. Like there in my beanie. I get there and I see Amira has laid out this gorgeous charcuterie board. And I'm like, oh, this is a date. Okay.
I
And,
would lay out a charcuterie board for anyone.
but I didn't know that. To me, that was very fancy. And I was like, oh, okay, they like me. Okay. Let's see. Um, and yeah, we watched some Golden Girls.
The pretense of our hangout was I had never seen Golden Girls. So it is the
What?
game.
Oh my God.
I know.
Exactly.
Parsha, how did you not introduce me to Golden Girls? I knew
I
you
mean,
had.
like that was mom and I's our favorite show, like one of many. Like we always watched the Golden Girls. In fact, Dorothy was mom's favorite Golden Girl, so that was like a regular in our household.
Don't
So,
worry, we've since fixed
I am
that,
okay.
but
shook. And Dorothy is my favorite too. But
Oh
it
well,
was one of those things where Dane was like shook. I'd never watched Golden Girls. And I was like, okay, obviously we need to watch Golden Girls.
yeah,
right.
And then I brought out a charcuterie plate and like the whole game changed.
yeah.
So when did you guys know that this was like something for real?
Oh, Rummy? Oh, sorry.
Um,
Your
We have,
dog?
I think we have I
yes.
think we have
Okay.
I think we have different answers. I think it felt real for both of us in different ways at different times,
Yeah.
which is, I definitely like I'll admit I fell for Amira immediately. Um
The
I definitely
charcuterie board, Golden Girls, you're in.
Yeah, I mean,
Smooth.
and that was very not like me. Like honestly, I was not a relationship person. Um, but I recognized like I had these feelings that were like I could not deny. Like, they were in my heart.
Hmm.
But I also it wasn't like timing wasn't really there. There were just things and I was like, we can take our time. It was COVID, so we did decide to like be exclusive in that
Yeah.
sense. Um, but yeah, I knew really right away. Like from that first date, I guess.
And
Yeah.
Amira?
And to be clear, like I think I would have U-Hauled Dana in weeks. To be frank, like I would have been the exact same timeline as you had it not been like I had just gotten out of a long, hard relationship. And so I just done this bursting of like coming out to everyone and being like, it's done. Like I'm can do all the things I want to do, but also I was like, I need a little bit of time to process, to understand that, to like work through with my family, um, and a whole bunch of things. And so, I think for me, for a while, I was telling Dana, like, I was like, I really care about you, but like, I need some space and time to really figure this out, and I want to go slow as a result. So, for me, I feel like Rummy was it because. There was this day I have had a dog my entire life. I love dogs. And the beginning of the pandemic was the first time I didn't have a dog and I didn't live with one. And I found it so difficult. And I was like, I really want to get a dog. And Dana was like, wow, we are way too soon to get a dog. And I was like, it's going to be my dog. Like, you don't have to do it. We had a whole agreement because this is like risky business. Like, under a year, getting a dog together, like, that's queer disaster. So so yeah, so we made this whole agreement. And then when we got it, I think there was like moments where it just felt like the three of us had our own family pact.
Hmm.
And the ways in which we operate around each other was just like, it was so beautiful. And I got to see this like very human, like loving, even parental energy come from my partner, which was all sorts of like my estrogen levels were off. I don't know how that works. But like, yeah, I think that was like really beautiful. And then we had many moments after where things were just like slowly slipping into place until one day I was like, Dane, how do you feel about marriage?
So,
Do you like it? Do we want
yeah.
like, is it something you're ever interested in?
What was Dana's response?
I don't think that's
Miss,
how it
I'm
works.
not a relationship person. Now
I
you're
don't
in a
know if that's how
relationship, you've got a
marriage changes.
dog.
It was a little bit more,
Yeah,
TD like focus than that. But yeah.
right.
I think it was more the conversation of Toronto
Hmm.
uh, that led to the conversation about marriage. Because Amira made it very clear to me, like in a respectful way, right from the very, very beginning of like, I most likely want to move back to Toronto. I've been in New York a long time. It's can be hard um, and after especially after some time, like I obviously I love Toronto. I was really like,
Toronto
okay,
loves you too.
thank you. I'm so
It's
happy to be
true.
here. But I think that really spurred the conversation of like, okay, well, if we're talking about moving Toronto together, like what does that mean then? Like what are we talking about in terms of what does our future look like? How committed are we? Like what are the things we want?
Mhm.
That's true. That's the real story.
And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, it wasn't just like, and actually, if you want the tea, Amira originally did not want marriage.
That's true. I had always grown up never wanting to get married. So it was a personal thing.
okay, but something changed because you proposed. So
This one changed.
this one
This one
changed.
wanted to get married.
Yeah.
I did.
Well,
I wanted to get married, but mostly because I was like, well, yeah, like we're moving, we're doing these big things. Well, just
yeah. So how did the proposal go down?
it was the best.
Well, okay, we'll continue the story. So Dane really we had the do we like are we marriage people energy question.
Hmm.
And then Dane really convinced me that like a lot of people fought for a right to get married. Like this is a big thing to do, but also like there's many avenues in which we can reclaim what marriage is. And that really was big for me. And I was like, yeah, okay, I feel good about this. And then the next obvious question was like, oh, how do you feel about proposals? So I was like, I do not, and this is a personal preference, there's no judgment or shame on this. Like, I just didn't want to be proposed to. And that was not something I ever saw happening for me, but Dane wanted to be proposed to.
I wanted
Oh,
some romance.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So obviously at that point, I'm like, great. So
So now
not
it's all on you.
but I have to propose
Yeah.
and do this whole thing. And I'm pretty extra, as is our family. And
And
so,
a Virgo.
and a Virgo. Yeah. So like the
Yeah.
logistics, I was like, okay, game mode, gotta go now. So I went from this thing that I was like, I don't even want at all to do, to being like 200% in.
Hmm.
And when I say 200%, I mean my proposal was like a 6-month planning process.
And I had no idea. No
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, well, the first step was like, I knew I wanted to surprise Dane. So I was like, how do I get them somewhere while they have no idea, but they willingly are showing up to be surprised? So 6 months into the engagement, I said, Dane, I have this like great idea. I'm feeling really like isolated in New York still from the pandemic. Like things are costing a lot of money. I want to like re-explore the city, but not break the bank while doing so. So I
Okay.
was like, and like you want romance? Why don't we plan this fun game for us? So every week, one of us would take the wheels on planning a date, and we wrote down the requirements about like what it would mean to surprise someone with a date idea in New York. So it had to be like under $20. You had to tell the person like what to wear. You had to like, there was all these things that we designed to be like what would make us both feel like most comfortable in this process. And feeling like we were in a surprise that we knew, but we didn't know, but we were like comfortable
Mm.
with being surprised. And so we did that for months.
Yeah. And it was all a trick.
No, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was the actual game was really fun. But that
Oh,
being said, at the day I had planned it was I told Dane we were doing a picnic in the park. I told them to dress really nice and stylish. It was like kind of a fashion event. Which is kind of hilarious because we really don't ever go to fashion
I was like,
events.
what
I
is
was like, what?
But
the
I thought,
runway?
yeah, so they were like totally surprised. And a few months before this, I started seeding that we didn't have pictures with Rummy together, that I really wanted like family photos, like really nicely done, would be so cute. So we get to the Brooklyn Museum, the spot where we first met, and that was the first surprise. And then Dana's best friend, Christy, I had organized for Christy, who had taken the train in from PA that morning, showed up there, was the second surprise. And I was like, surprise, no picnic. We're going to do a family photo shoot. And so I had packed together bags of just like outfits.
Okay.
And it was a little chilly again. I don't know our luck on chilly days at the museum, but I had packed like tea and hand warmers and all this stuff to stay outside for a little bit of a fun escapade. And so the first one, I had Dana turn around and blindfold each time. And then they turned around and Rummy and I were in sports outfits. So it was like a sports theme photo shoot. So
With our own teams.
I was in Toronto Raptors, you were in 76 Phillies, 76ers, and Rummy was in an Eagle
Eagles.
jersey. And so it was like so fun. We had this whole theme photo shoot. And then the second time they turned around, it was a winter picnic, and we had a blanket and hats, and Rummy was in like a Sherpa jacket. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And we took the second photo shoot. And then the third photo shoot, when Dane turned around, was when we were all preparing. I had these signs I had put on Rummy that said "Partners Forever?" question mark. And I had custom designed. Dana really likes Pokemon, so I had custom designed a Pokeball from this artist with our Pokemon characters, and I put a ring in it. And when
Oh.
Dane turned around, I gave them a dog treat, so our dog would be the most visible, and would be looking right at them. And when they turned around, yeah, our dog popped the question, and I had the ring, and that was the proposal.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, Dana, at this point?
Oh my God, I was shocked. I was really, really shocked.
Well done, Amira, by the way.
Yeah, because even though we had talked about like getting married, I didn't think it would happen then, actually, like just timeline wise, like I really, really was not expecting it.
Hmm.
And then when I turned and I saw Rami, our dog, with the sign and Amira with the Pokeball, which I'm a nerd, so like that was just incredible. I was shocked. I think
Hmm.
the first thing I said was like, are you serious? Like, is it real?
It's
Like,
true.
or is this a joke? Like, it was one of those. Like, I really like could not. I was just stunned.
Right.
It was just such a dream come true, and I
Yeah.
could not believe that someone went through like such an effort to do this beautiful, beautiful thing for me, and I was stunned. I think it like took me a few minutes to like say yes because I was like, "Are you sure? Is this real? Like, what?" Um, and
I was
yeah.
sure for what it's
Yeah.
been here.
Yeah. And I love the pictures, but hearing you talk about it does it more justice. So thank you for sharing that. And then, to my surprise, you two eloped in a very intimate ceremony in New York. So, first of all, your marriage is in our family, on the Dalla side at least, the first ever same-sex marriage that, has ever happened. So, finally, I'm not the first for something.
We did it.
Yes. So, thank you for that, taking off the pressure, and congratulations again. But what about for you, Dana? Have there been any other same-sex marriages in your family, or was this the first as well?
You know what? There was one other in my family actually a month before ours. My cousin David married his husband Thomas in California. We went to the wedding. And yeah, that's on my dad's side. Um, he's the one other queer person in the fa in my entire family. Um, and yeah, that was really special too, to go to that and to see my family in that environment and my uncle make a speech and be so happy. So there was one other, but I guess I would be the first on my mom's side. So
Nice. Well, can you guys talk about your ceremony and how you personalized it? Because I love the details.
yeah. Gosh, it was such a beautiful day. We ended up going to downtown Brooklyn, the courthouse, just the two of us, and you need to have one witness. And the person we decided on was this photographer that I had known from just like the movement in New York, from protests. They're a photojournalist, but they do event photography as well. Um, and we just wanted to make it a really special day. It was important for us to like just to, even though it was just us, to still kind of feel our community and our family and our culture. So we planned a fun photo shoot around Brooklyn. We brought certain things to be able to celebrate, blanking on what the things are called to be able to do the ceremonies. Um, but yeah,
Oh,
we just like
Sapatia.
yes.
Yeah, we stepped on. So in both Jewish and Muslim cultures, there's a moment in the traditions at a wedding where the quote unquote bridal party steps onto something to see. And well, it means different things in both our
Yeah.
cultures.
Hmm.
Like a
Yes.
race, like it's like a competition,
Right.
Hmm.
gamified very much at weddings. So we tried to bring in our cultures and traditions and our ancestors and
Yeah.
really just make a day that felt like us.
Yeah, we had our first song and dance together to Whitney Houston's Higher Love,
Oh,
which is
love
like
that.
it's our song and like that was important to us to still do something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, we just like kind of did little things throughout the day to like celebrate in like small but meaningful ways.
I love how you brought the traditions and honored ancestors. And I think, Amira, you did that in a very special way that, touched me. And that was including your grandmother and my mother's ring as part of the ceremony, which was
Yeah.
great. So I felt like all the ancestors were there. And the pictures are just beautiful. And I'm going to share some of them with, you know, the promos for this. So, guys,
Okay.
please check out the pictures of this lovely couple's wedding because it was just beautiful, and the looks on your faces speaks volumes. It still does today. That love cannot be denied, and it is one of the reasons why I want to highlight and celebrate your love in this way. So, in honor of your wedding, consider this part of your celebratory events. So, yeah.
Oh, no, we
Yeah.
feel really lucky and we're really blessed. And,
Mm.
in a different situation, we would have wanted you and all of our family and chosen family there. And that's just was not in the cards for us. And so we're so lucky to have designed something that worked and felt like us to the T, and then continue celebrating in so many ways with our family, like even now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because you're here in Toronto, that makes it easier, right? So,
Yeah.
which I, for one, am really grateful for. So, you've relocated, you've uprooted New York, you spent 14 years there, you started your relationship, and now you two and Rummy have come to Toronto and have called this home. So, what has that transition been like?
I
Oh,
mean, I think first and foremost, we're both just really
yeah.
grateful to be in Toronto and to be living here. Really grateful to have, personally started my like PR application process like almost 2 years ago at this point, a year and a half ago. Um,
Wait, your permanent
yeah,
residency. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just because obviously things with US administration and all now. So really we're just like very grateful to be here, to be able to be here, and to, have a great family and community already here to help us.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're transitioned, which is honestly its own success. Like we're so excited to have a home and like getting our feels around the city, and like spring and summer is blooming, and it makes it so nice to just be outside and get a feel for Toronto. But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways we're connected to our friends around the world and even back in the US that like we definitely have a lot of feels around that. And know that while we're lucky, like so much of our activism and work still exists there.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think we know and we're grateful and appreciative in so many ways. And also like, it's been a transition.
Hmm. Well, I will happily help with that transition in any way that I can. I see a lot of beach days ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, so in Toronto, we have a queer space beach called Hanlan's Point, which we've been to together when you guys were visiting in the past. So I definitely would like to spend some more time with you guys there. More drag brunches, and yeah, let's see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, all the gay things. We'll do them all.
All the gay things. I can finally do it with some family, which I'm really excited about. I want to talk about an organization called Rainbow Railroad. Okay, they're a Canadian charitable organization created to rescue 2S LGBTQ plus people. They help people who are in imminent danger from anti-gay terror. And side note, I will be attending a fundraiser for Rainbow Railroad this Pride Month. So I'm excited to support their cause, and I'll put a link in the description for people who want to learn more about this organization and who may want to donate to their cause. But in any way, the CBC, or Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, reported this February 25th that Rainbow Railroad received nearly 1,200 inquiries from 2S LGBTQ plus Americans on November 6th, 2024 alone, after Trump returned to the White House, after getting only about 700 US based inquiries up to that point in 2024. So nearly double on one day. And I'm kind of wondering, I mean, we talked about your main reason for moving back here, but did the current US administration have any influence on your decision of leaving the United States and coming to Canada?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, we made the decision while Biden was still in office. It would have been probably a couple of years before the election, but we also knew that Trump would be, I think at that point, we also knew that Trump would be in the next election. And I personally had low expectations for, what would happen. So it definitely was like in our minds. And I think beyond even Trump, just knowing that the US, even before wasn't amazing, Biden wasn't doing the greatest. Neither was Kamala. Like, there were just certain things. And while Toronto and Canada, was not perfect, there are more, um, there is more support here. And
Mhm.
that was really important to us, particularly when thinking about, future and what our future family would be like and look like. So in those ways, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say here, and we are obviously like two people who are very fortunate in the situation. Like I had my eyes on Toronto for a very long time to be like, my family's here. I love them. Like you, Far Church, my siblings, parents, like we have such a beautiful like community that's so supportive here. It's hard to resist not wanting to be closer to them. Uh,
Mhm.
but at the same time, the reality is that really solidified things for us. We were pretty certain, like already our communities had been hurting internally, and that was a huge blow to knowing it was just going to get worse. And in so much, like Dana was like prepared for a Trump presidency, and I was in denial.
Mhm.
Like before he even got elected, like Dana's like, we needed to prep, we need to do the things. And I'm like, no, that's never not going to happen again. And I'm really glad we did do the things. So we hedged our bets in the right direction, and we were lucky to have that escape plan ready to go exactly when we needed it. Uh,
Mhm.
but that was foresight that like I don't even know how we had. Like that was part of it. And I would say like given trans, queer, Muslim, gender nonconforming identities, like we are in somewhere that is just so much safer for our rights.
Yeah, I agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. How did your queer experience change over the years living there through the changes in the administration,
Living in New York.
living in New York?
I think my my queer experiences like were that myself and my chosen fam queer community, we just got louder. Like
Hmm.
I think there were moments where like not too long ago, like 10 years ago, I was like in the closet. And then I was like, I am so loud about being gay now. Because I'm like, we don't have a choice. Like we are actually kind of funneled into that. And then like our communities were supported around that. And I think I read this article recently about like, as queer people, we actually need friends outside of activism, but so many of our chosen family come from activism and ours where we're all planted and where we're all like convening around because that's where we're moving and pushing the needle on things. So I think for me, it was definitely a get louder, get deeper, and like fight more energy that came out really, really clearly in my queer identity, which just actually put me in communities and spaces where I continue to learn and grow with that community. And seeing and feeling like the power of all these people who were truly expressing themselves and standing up to fight for that really inspired me in ways where, you know, I started to transition how I looked and felt in my queerness and how I represented that. So I would say that part had a big effect on me.
And you both are, you know, advocates in your own right. But what do you think we can all do to support those that are at risk right now because of the consequences of the changes that this administration has put in place?
I feel like there's really so much to do. I mean, I would just say like like do what you can. You know, I feel like people, um, if they want to help or do things, you know, it can be easily overwhelming to try to figure out what to do and how much is enough to do. And I think it's, you know, a part of it is just like doing what you can, whether that's, you know, researching and just learning more, donating to, you know, really like mutual aid groups, even if it's just $5, you know, sharing links, liking posts on Instagram or social media, you know, whatever you're able to do is helpful, even if it's like the little things they add up. And also just speaking up, you know, speaking to your community, like your friends, your family. The more we talk about things, the better. You know, we really just all need to speak up, I think, in some ways, if you are in a safe situation to do so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for reinforcing that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, you know, whether it's the US or Canada or literally anywhere around the world, like so many, whether it's media or politics or in culture, like queer folk are not talked about in great ways and
Hmm.
represented in great ways. And in some cases, some parts of our communities are even worse off. Like I think a lot about our trans community and
Hmm.
how they're represented and spaces and places. And the main thing I can say to people is like, you hear how it's talked about, but you know this isn't true. So let's just talk about how great it is on the other side. Let's flood the stream with like the greatness of all these communities and the trans folk and how inspired we are by some of our leaders and ancestors and things like that. So whether you are queer or not, I think there's ways we can be inspired by these people and also just like flood the stream with narratives that are beautiful about joy, about like true care and love and support and make sure that those stories are upheld as well and those people are upheld within the spaces you're in.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then on the other hand, we have the late Pope Francis, who has made several changes to make the church more inclusive, including blessings for same sex couples. Though the Vatican still maintains that a marriage is only between a man and a woman, I see this still as progress. And he also urged inclusion of transgender people in the life of the Roman Catholic Church, stating they could be baptized, serve as godparents, and be witnesses in weddings. As a leader of church and religion, he's definitely made a lot of changes. What are your thoughts about that?
It's kind of hard to say. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's great from the perspective that a pope, somebody in such power, you know, would speak up. Because they're, you know, beyond just queerness and trans rights. Like I actually like he did speak up for other things as well. Um, but I think about like what's the real effect of it? Like I try to think about like what a which maybe isn't right, but like what like are the local churches or religious organizations, or even the big ones, like, you know, we know like the US is very church led, like there's still like conversion camps and so many things. So how many are really listening to the Pope? And I don't know, just what else do we need to do? So in one way, like I definitely appreciate, and I think that's great. We need more of that, more leaders who are more open-minded and wanting for change. But just wonder, like, I guess, like what's coming out of it, or are people listening? Are other religious leaders listening? So I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well, so Dane and I are not Catholic. So I feel like to answer this, I just need to add that like we don't have a presence of the Pope in like Catholic Church in our families, in our home. Like that is not something we felt his impact on in that way,
Hmm.
in which I think many people did, which is
Mhm.
why I want to recognize that. And so I do feel like he was progressive as a Pope goes. Like I think he was the first Pope ever to use the word gay. That
Hmm.
and like that's wild in some respects, but I have to hold myself back because I think Pope Francis is actually pretty complicated in terms of his approach on LGBTQ communities. In some ways, he was
Hmm.
supportive and allowed those things. In other ways, he was not. And so I think like he was complicated across this issue too, even though what in reality, what I think he often gave us, and this is where I flipped to being like how like controlling myself is like he gave us breadcrumbs in that sense. Like you can witness a wedding. You know,
Hmm.
that's a breadcrumb to me. I'm like, anyone should witness a wedding. That's great. Like, that's beautiful. Any human should be allowed to do that no matter who they are.
Mhm.
And, you know, that can branch out to undocumented folks or other sorts of marginalized communities. Like, those should not be an issue. So I guess I have to hold myself back a little bit on like talking about the popes because I'm like, I don't want breadcrumbs for our community. I want so much more. And yet I realize that that's real progress for a lot of people. And I don't want to knock it in so many ways. So I kind of also, I'm in a stage where whether it's celebrities and any sort of the facet or including the Pope, like I'm just stepping back from my idolizing and taking everything they say in that realm of truly God send energy. Because I'm like, no, we get to define that. We get to share what is more right for us and what we want to do. So I'm a little bit not answering your question, but answering from a different perspective.
No, and that's why I asked, because I think
Yeah,
this is something that we hadn't talked about. So
that's
I'm
true.
I'm glad that you shared your perspective, and it gives me lots to think about because I don't know where I sit with this just yet. But it is a current conversational piece that's worth exploring and talking about.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of like I've seen a lot of articles recently on Pope Leo of like,
Hmm.
is he going to continue Pope Francis' legacy here? And already he has not, right? Like he's been
Hmm.
very clear. I think it was this or last week where he's like, marriage is just between a man and a woman.
Right.
So like he's obviously, I don't know where he's going to go, but already we're like, oh gosh, are we going backwards from the crumbs we were given energy? Uh,
Right.
and the progress that we might have made, which is really hard.
Yeah, and I think the general gist of this conversation is whether you're an advocate or not, is that we need to speak louder. Hence why I decided to do this podcast and continue the momentum that I started with my second season, which was called Queer Relief. And the season is called Queer Voices, because we don't create our own platforms. No one will for us, right?
It's true.
Well, I'm glad that you two are here in Toronto and probably safer than anywhere else in the world right now. Um, and I also want to say, Amira, that I truly appreciate that you're my go-to person when it comes to queer content on television. So I finally have someone to talk about shows like Queer Eye and Heartstopper, which are all queer-based content shows. And every time I finish watching a season, you're the person that I call and say, "We need a debrief. Tell me what your thoughts are about this season. What do you love?" I love sharing those experiences with you. And
Yeah.
and that said, I'm looking forward to season 4, right, of Heartstopper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Heartstopper, if you don't know, is a British-based UK, sorry, a queer content show about a coming of age story. And one of the reasons why I love watching it is because there was nothing like this when I was growing up. There was absolutely nothing. So to share that experience now with you is great. And I love that. But how do you two feel about the current queer content in media? Um, how do you feel about the way we're being represented or not represented?
Um, it's such a that's such a hard question to answer because in a way it's like want to be grateful for what we have because it's way better than, what we had 5, 10, 15 years ago.
I had nothing,
Exactly.
right?
Like
So nothing.
thinking what there was, I'm like, okay, well, at least we have a little bit more now. And there's definitely some, I would say, authentic content out there,
Hmm.
but there's definitely still a gap and there's definitely more that's needed, particularly just having shows or movies or anything that's just more focused on, maybe having more than just one queer character or, not just white queer characters or just like making sure more marginalized voices are heard, whether that's like BIPOC and trans or really just anyone. Like I feel like because even now, like um trans stories are starting to get a little bit more out there, but it's still mostly from like a white, very like skinny, you know, the Europe beauty standard perspective.
Hmm.
So there's still some ways to go.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good ones right now, like Heartstopper, and I think a lot, Patricia, because we both love it, like why we love it, and I think about just how you can have queer content now that is like healthy, beautiful, loving stories, and for
Right.
so long, like they were never healthy, beautiful, loving stories that we could aspire to. It was like kind of all the content was focused on like our shame or our queerness or coming out or just like our traumas.
Mhm.
And I think where we're at now is just the world, like totally agree with Dane. Like there wasn't great ones. So I'm grateful, but I'm like, we could do better. But also we're starting to see like it normalizing context where it's just like our everyday lives. Like you
Hmm.
can take out the trauma and we're real people. And we're starting to get little bits of that content, which
Yeah.
make me really happy because I just think we're going to lean further into it and
Yeah.
get it. But yeah, I mean, we are not alone, but
Yeah.
we like guzzle queer content. We're
Right.
like, oh great, Drag Race is on, we're in. We're like, Heartstopper is a queer show, we're in. Like all these shows, we're like, we feed on these, we want it, we want to watch them. We like love queer representation in shows and movies. And the sad reality is, so many of them get canceled so quickly.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Really hard because there's so many shows we've watched where it's like after the first season, it was done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, so
Canceled.
it's kind of like a tease. We're like, oh, we love that season, and then all of a sudden, it's like a League of Their Own is like a great example. Like had
Hmm.
one season, and
Right.
then the community's been fighting to get them another season back.
Mhm.
And so I think content is like both warming and beautiful when it's great and healthy in the queer community, or it shows multitudes to it. And it's like its own activism now to keep advocating to get it continuing,
Hmm.
and keep the space for it. So it is very mixed in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to get more than just one season of something. But I will say, I think my favorite queer representation when it comes to like TV shows and stuff is when there's no coming out. There's no like
Hmm.
saying like I'm gay, I'm a
Right.
lesbian, trans. It's like you're just introduced to the person, you're
Right.
introduced to their pronouns and their partner, but like there's no nothing. It's just who they are. It's just how the world is. And
Hmm.
those are my favorite. And
Right.
I see that a lot more with animated shows. So, I like a lot of those.
Right.
But it's just like I just find those so much more refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like most of the time, straight cis people don't need to come out.
Right.
So I love seeing universes that are created where, queer people don't have to come out either. It's just they're
It's
just part
just
of the
part
story.
of the mainstream
Yeah.
They're just
population. Yeah.
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
so.
And I would agree, Dana, there's a huge gap. And I still feel a lot of queer characters are othered into queer shows. So there's a category for that. But the the representation of queer characters in quote unquote normalized shows is far and few in between. Um, and I feel like until we don't have a separate category to have queer representation, then we'll only feel like we're actually seen as part of the general demographic, right? So I think we have a long way to go still.
Yeah.
True.
And one last add to that, I would say we
Hmm.
all, the community and, film industry need to get to that point, and we're getting closer, but where the queer characters are played by queer actors.
Hmm.
And like that's
Yes.
the huge thing that we're still seeing straight,
Right.
straight or cis people playing a queer or a trans person. And not to say that could never happen, but the point is that, those roles should be given to the queer community because that's really how to support us. Like, give us jobs,
It's
give us
true.
security.
Yeah,
So that as well.
I agree with that. I'm so glad you brought that up. And now we are in Pride Month. So I would love to know what pride means to each of you.
Okay, I'll try. Um, Pride to me is usually a time of year, but also I think it's an energy and an action, in so much of how I perceive it. And I truly feel like pride is the ability to be your authentic self and to be able to live in a space that is joyous and safe and supportive. And so I think when pride usually happens in a city or place, um, it is joyous, it is fun, it is like glam, it's big, it's parades, it's all this stuff. It's like showing the spectrum of what is queer because whether it's in media or elsewhere, like there are not many places you see full spectrums. Like even if you have clubs or bars or place, like it's usually for like one pocket of the community or another pocket. So for me, I always view Pride as that time where we really can reclaim our joy and our play nature and be able to experience that with the spectrum of the community to understand how vast queerness really is and the multitudes that it contains.
Hmm.
How about you, Dana?
I really think pride is something that means different to every single person. Because while like yes, being feeling pride to me is, being loud and proud and probably dressing up in drag and like listening to RuPaul. I think there's also, you can feel pride if you're not traditionally out or if,
Mm,
maybe you're the only person who knows you're queer. I feel like pride, and you kind of said it, but I think pride is kind of when you feel your most authentic. Like when you look in the mirror or something, you're like, yeah, and you just feel that within you. And I think whatever makes you feel that way, I feel like that to me is what pride is. Like that just authentic feeling good within your body, feeling of like, yeah, I'm proud of this. Like literally, like whether that's like going out and putting on glitter and dancing, what in the streets of pride
mhm.
or just at home with your dog. Like that could be your pride.
Hmm. Yeah, excellent. And I'm excited that I'll be coming to Pride Toronto with the two of you for the first time, another first. And we'll be joined by your siblings, my other nieces and nephews. Yeah, I gotta say, I never imagined, for one thing, not going to like being able to go to a drag brunch, but alone Pride with my family. So this is a huge moment for me and one that I'm super grateful. I'm grateful that we could be here at this particular point, meaning this point in time where we could celebrate our queerness together. That's huge for me. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
It's really special, I will say. Like, I think Pride, so many of us bring together like our chosen family,
Hmm.
uh, which is beautiful and essential in so many ways. And I'm like, oh, I get chosen family and my family. Like, I get the best of both worlds. And I think that's just really special and beautiful.
I agree. Okay, so plot twist. So, in outlining today's episode, I thought it would be fun if we did a bit of a role reversal. So, you guys have been in the hot seat and have been amazing guests, but I thought it would be fun to switch roles and allow you to be host and for me to be guest. Um, so, I'm giving you the guys an opportunity to ask me whatever questions you've prepared. And yeah, so I think it would be fun to do this. I have no idea what you guys are going to ask me, so I hope I could do you justice the way you have for me today. So take it away, guys. Amir and Dana, you are now the hosts of today's episode.
Hey,
Welcome to our podcast.
welcome. Well, okay, so I know this is kind of copying you, but I really love this question. And
Mhm.
I feel like I was already thinking of something like this in my mind of like wanting to ask you, and how you worded it, it's just perfect. But I'd like to know, and I think we both like to know, like, what does pride mean to you?
Mhm.
And when do you feel that the most?
Yeah, so to echo some of the things that you guys said, I think pride is something. that is an everyday experience. It is an evolution of sorts of your coming into your wholeness. So every day that you transform, there's something to be proud about. Um, in terms of the actual day itself, the first thing that's really important to me is to honor all those that came before me. I realize that I am where I can be with the rights that I have because of the people that fought for me and for all of us, including the right to marry, the right to have freedoms like everybody else. I realize that that took the courage of a lot of people during the initial Pride movement. So I first and foremost definitely honor all of those people. Every Pride, I honor and acknowledge my chosen family as well as my blood family who have supported my journey because I could not be here today or stand in these shoes without everyone's support. Um, Pride is something that I can experience on my own, but is much better in the accompaniment of my family and loved ones. And so I think in particular, this Pride will be even more special to me to be able to celebrate with you guys. Um, and each day that I evolve, Pride will have deeper meaning for me. I think Pride is still important to remember all those that don't have the rights that we do. And I think until everybody's free, we're not all free. And so I know that when I attend Pride, I'm representing also all the people that can't attend Pride, that don't have the opportunity to experience what we do in various countries for whatever reasons. Um, I mean, even the country that I was born in, Tanzania, they reversed laws and now have criminalized homosexuality, which makes me very sad. That's my birthplace. And I wonder what my life would have been like if we still stayed there and we didn't make the migration here. So it has many layers of meaning for me. I think pride is also declaring my truth to me each and every day from a heart space. One of the first things that I do every morning is hug my heart and I tell myself that I love myself. And that includes all of me. It's not separate parts or the parts that I don't like, but it's all of me.
Hmm.
That's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
I love that practice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Your
Yeah.
answer.
Um, I might continue that with a question that I had not planned. So I'm going off script already. So by literally 2 seconds in, I'm like, I'm off script. Um, I think a lot about the intersectionality between queerness and being Muslim. And that's something I don't think we've really discussed in depth, but is something that I've always intentionally thought of with both of us as to how we navigate that. And I know that there are a lot of preconceived notions around the Muslim community around queerness and how Muslim people approach queerness. And there's a lot of stigma for Muslim people or for queer people within the Muslim community. And I want to leave space to really ask you, like, how have you seen the merger of that intersectionality come out for you and your queerness and your pride? And what do you do to really hold on to both your faith and your queerness together?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think if I were to go back to my coming out and the resistance to coming out was the fear that my community will reject me. And to my surprise, I didn't experience that at all, other than obviously the resistance of the fears associated with what that looks like for our family culturally, with my mother and family members. But what I will say is that I can't control how people choose to perceive me. I can't control how people choose to look at me. And my relationship between myself and my creator is a personal one.
Mhm.
I believe that I've been created this way for a reason, and I believe that God does not make mistakes. And I do not see how a being that is made of love can create anything other than that is made of love in itself. And so that is what navigates me and gets me through the fears of community, the fears of stigma. And that is that ultimately my relationship is with my creator, and that is the most sacred and most personal relationship that I have. It is my guiding force and the anchor to which that I live my life with. Um, and so the rest I don't really have control over. I think when I started my podcast and I started to interview other members of the queer Muslim community, I did receive backlash and I did really receive some hate. And I expected that, but it didn't bother me. And that surprised me. I really wasn't impacted by that because how I chose to perceive or receive that was to see that that person was really expressing who they are from a place of disconnection. Because if you are expressing yourself from a place of connection, you can't use words of hate. You can't express words that create more separation and more fear. And so wherever they are, I don't judge. But what I do know is that when I am challenged in that way, I'm just reminded of my own connection and how any fears that could lead to more, disconnection is only separation consciousness, and that's it.
Mm, beautiful. That's also like for me, that just shows maturity and growth and your confidence in you.
It's taken a while to get here.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I feel like that's actually a good segue to my next question.
Hmm.
Speaking about like, where you're at now, like the confidence you've built, um, maybe at once there may have been a time in your life where you weren't quite like that. So I'm stealing this from Drag Race, but you know,
Okay.
if you could go back, like what would you tell, let's say like a 5, 6 year old you, or 7, 8 year old, like what would you tell a younger you that maybe didn't quite have that confidence that you have now that you've worked so hard to get?
Hmm. So that's a difficult question for me because I feel like it's almost like a what if, right? Like what if I had said that or what if I'd known that? But if I could reframe the question to what I would tell another 5-year-old who maybe, growing at a certain age and just being where they're at is affirming to them that who they are is enough, that who they are doesn't need to be any different, that who they are doesn't need to conform to expectations, that who they are doesn't need to mask any part of themselves, that the truth of who they are is what the world needs to see, that because they are here means that they are here to make a difference in the world. And that doesn't require to be anything other than who they are. Um, I would also tell them that they are loved profusely and profoundly,
Mm.
that the number one relationship that they'll always have to have is the most important one is the one with themselves, and to hug their heart every day
Mm.
and to give themselves all the love that they would want from anyone else and to be responsible for giving themselves that love and not to place that expectation on anyone else.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter what the world has to say about them.
Mm. Thank you. That's a beautiful message that regardless of age, I think everyone needs to hear.
That's true. I was like, I was trying to hug myself in that. I was like,
Mhm.
yes,
Try it.
I know.
Do you
Yeah.
really just like hug your heart like,
I wrap my arms around like this.
I
Oh,
love that.
Yeah.
welcome.
Hmm.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think what I learned is when I was a caregiver, my capacity to give love. And I think when you're in that situation, you realize just how much you have to offer another human being. And so when my mom transitioned, one of the things that my grief counselor pointed out was that you must have learned through this experience that you've had all this love to offer and to give. And so then I thought, okay,
Mm.
if the most important relationship is the one with myself and I have all this love to give, then I need to learn to give that love to myself too. I think that when you're a caregiver, you make another person your priority and everything about them comes before you. And so after my mom transitioned, I went through a whole identity crisis and I thought, what do I do with all this love? Who do I give it to now? And that's when I learned to start giving it to myself.
Oh,
I,
that's so important.
I can't, like, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else, you know?
Says Lizzo and everyone else, right? I know where that quote came from. I love it. But
Yeah.
if we don't practice it, we won't know what it feels like, right?
Yeah, so true. And in this capitalist society, most of us really aren't taught how to love yourself, why to love yourself, beyond an egotistical way,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so important to spread that message that we should love ourselves and give that love to ourselves.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, try it. Hug your heart every morning. But if you are feeling discomfort in that, lean into it a little bit and ask yourself why.
Yeah.
That's your work to do. I've done mine.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I have another question.
Okay, fire away.
Fine, Chacha.
Yes.
We are incredibly, as we've already shared, two generations of Dalek queers.
Hmm.
And I recognize, and I just want to start this by saying thank you and having gratitude for the space you've carved out for me and my queerness amongst the family, and all the ways you've led and done a lot of firsts that I have been able to follow. I recognize that constantly,
Ooh,
and I
I worry
appreciate.
about that. I want to
Well,
be a good role model, right?
I know, but if we even just break this down to the bare min, like, there's not a lot of queer elders around a lot of people. And I like grew
Hmm.
up with my queer elder and I get to hold my queer elder. I get to go to drag brunch, but like not calling you old, I promise. But you know what I mean? Like,
There's that
yeah, yeah,
difference.
yeah. But like the generation before me sort of energy.
Yeah.
And it's so special and it's so beautiful and I'm so grateful for it. And I think about this conversation around content that's available and even just the stats around like youth are becoming even queerer and the fact that we have the first baby born on the family and the next generation's here.
Hmm.
And so I think about all the space you did to carve out for my generation and for me, not just me, but others. And I'm wondering what you think we can do to carve out for this next generation, given that they'll have so much, hopefully, more queerness and rights than we will, but also that there's probably still going to be so much stigma and stuff that they have to process and deal with. So, like, I need your advice to be like, what do we do next? How do we create the next gen with us?
I kind of turn to you for that, to be honest, because
Tell me.
you are just as much the legacy that I've been, right? Like, however, in a way in which I have been or could have been a role model given the time and the generation that, I grew up in, you're in a much open, freer time period to have open conversations. Like, and you know how our conversations have transitioned from not being able to talk about it to having Dana come to the Christmas and Thanksgiving and Eve and to have a chair where Dana could even sit. I didn't think I could even bring a partner home. That wasn't even an option for me, at least in my mind. Like that would have been, I don't even want to think about what that could have been like, but I wouldn't have even put a partner through that, I don't think. But anyway, that's a different conversation. I think really I can continue to facilitate what I've been doing as best as I can by stepping into my wholeness, to living my truth unapologetically, and being able to not, you know, become small when we get together at our gatherings, because that was, my previous experience. But to be able to express who I am in my wholeness without masking myself at the tables. And I think that's going to be something that you're going to do better than I did. I think that's something that you're doing better than I am. So I feel like maybe that is possibly something that we share together, to create that space. Having people like Dana be a part of our family, to see that everyone is included and that everyone is welcome will change the landscape in which, Jaden, Azra's son, your nephew, is going to see the world. Like his world is going to be far different than the one that I grew up in and than the one that you grew up in. And so I think that as we continue to be ourselves and show up as ourselves authentically without our masks, we'll be leaving the best possible legacy that we can. And I
Yeah.
and I think about my legacy all the time. I don't have kids. You guys are it, right? Every time I make a post, every time I write, I think about you guys because these are the things that I'm leaving behind. This podcast is another form of my legacy. To be able to have this conversation and allow the entire world to listen to it, I mean, that's life changing for me,
Yeah.
right? And I hope that one day in the archives, when our future generation is going through our pictures and they see you and Dana, they see your wedding photos, and they see the love, they're not even going to think twice about it. It'll be a norm. It'll be something more to celebrate. It'll be something more to honor as far as the ancestors that we are going to be for that generation. And I hope this podcast does the same.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm like actually getting emotional. All right, well, that was beautiful. Thank you. And I have a quick follow-up.
Hmm.
So when we talked about my coming out story, I had said that when I came out, you were like, I know, I've
Yeah.
been waiting for this moment. So if for others who are in positions like yourself who think that they might have like a queer niece, nephew, someone in their family, um, what was that like? How did that feel for you? Was there responsibility there? What were the actions you took and what was going through your head? Slash, how do people navigate that position and do it with such grace in the way you did with me?
To how to respond to when someone comes out to you.
I think beyond that, like you had already assumed I was gay, but you didn't come to tell me.
Yeah.
And so you did this thing where you waited. And I
Hmm.
want to talk through like any advice you would give to others if they are assuming or have like an inkling that their family member's queer, like what they should do. And
Hmm.
then if there was anything for you that you thought of, like in terms of like what that meant for you in terms of the responsibility to be like a role model for me or like what you were thinking. Like, I'd love to just know more about that.
Yeah. And I think about the ways that I could have done better for you a lot. Um, because I feel like, obviously I was in a different situation and circumstance and constrained by a different generational time. But for other people who suspect that they have a family member or a loved one, a child, son, daughter, whatever, who they think is queer, you need to normalize the conversation of what that means in your life and in your family. Um, we never had queer people come to our family events or um, celebrations or dinners or whatever. I think having queer relatives or friends be part of conversations to normalize it. I think what you want to do is, as much as possible, let the child know or the loved one that this is a safe space to express that truth and that they won't be rejected no matter what. And then ultimately, as you know and I know, that moment is really up to that individual to know when it's the right time for them to express that truth. And as hard as that is, it shouldn't even be, you know, a coming out experience. Like it should just be known and that's it. Like Dana was talking about in certain TV shows, right? That whole coming out process, I just wish was not an issue and not even something that should be a conversation. It'd just be like, so who are you dating? Like, is it a boy or is it a girl? Great. When can we meet them?
Either or
Right?
either, not a boy or a girl.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever it is. I think having an environment that is a safe space will help a person realize that it's not going to be an issue because I think the greatest fear that we have is that we're going to be rejected and that in some way our family's going to reject us or our loved ones. And so to reduce the fear of rejection is the most important thing. Would you go up to a person and say, hey, I know you're gay? Like, I'm not sure if I would do that. I think you have to decide that based on your relationship. I think in your case, I needed you to be in a place where you were ready to tell me. I wanted to be there for you so badly. I wanted to let you know you've got an ally, you've got a Guncle, you've got a Chacha, you've got nothing to worry about. Um, because I honestly believe that when you are living your whole self, then your loved ones get to know all of who you are. And the longer you keep that from them, the longer you have the opportunity to develop a deeper, more meaningful relationship with them. And it's
Mm.
hard living a double life. It's so hard separating all the pieces of you when you're with your family and when you're with your safe and, chosen family. It's much easier when, the truth is out and you're living your authentic self. And I think that when you are living your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same as well. And so you never know that, as a queer person, when you come out, how that's going to impact other people to reveal their truths, whatever they're masking, right? It,
Mhm.
it does have an impact on everyone. You know, your revelations allow people to reveal parts of themselves too that they may be hiding, whatever that may be as well.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. I didn't actually reflect to this conversation what it meant for you to hold that knowledge before I had shared it with you and what that might have meant for you. Um, which is like obviously it's like it's my story, it's my narrative, but like for others to see me before I see me and then to be able to hold that without me and wait for me to come was just so beautiful.
Yeah, I think the first person you really have to come out to, and this, is yourself. And the advice I was given is that before I tell anyone, I need to walk in those words and literally. So the exercise that I was given was okay, go to the gay village, say the words, and walk as though you're living in that truth. And that was really scary. And it took me a long time to embody that, in my physical being. And so I had to get to that place where I could say it and walk in the space of knowing that my body was aligned with that truth. And once I got to that place, then it was about starting to tell people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that before you have that conversation with that loved one, you kind of have to respect where they are on their journey because you don't really know where they are until they tell you, right?
Yeah.
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 Fair. One last fun question. We have one last one, our fun
Okay.
one.
Oh yeah. What would your drag queen name be?
Wow. Oh my goodness. I've never thought of this. What would my drag queen name be? I might need help with this.
So
Um,
I mean, if you haven't thought about it yet, that leaves a lot of room for brainstorming.
yeah, I might need help with this. I mean, that's nothing I've ever thought of. I have nothing against drag. I've never wanted to wear a dress. I've never wanted to do drag or, you know, I've, I've definitely started to step into my wholeness as far as dressing and experiencing expression in many ways and storytelling. And, my next episode, which you guys will be listening to, will address that with my next guest. But as far as my drag name, hmm, wow, I don't know. I think you stumped me on that one.
That's okay. You can think about it.
Yeah, they're
I
just like
might have to come back to you on that.
But
the
it's also fair, like if drag's not for you, if you don't
Mhm.
have or need want to drag name. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
fair hearing that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? You two are my drag experts. So I'm going to put you on the assignment.
Okay.
You are on the assignment to come up with my drag name. I don't know when I'd ever use it. But if I ever had to, then I know who to come to.
We're on the assignment.
You're
Yeah.
on the assignment.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so maybe in future episodes, if I happen to come up with my drag name, I will reveal it on my podcast. How's that?
We
Yeah.
love it.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think that was the most challenging question I've ever received in my life, to be honest. To which I don't have an answer, so I'm so sorry I failed you.
I mean,
Um,
whose family is not to challenge you? No, I'm kidding.
well, Amira and Dana, I love you so much.
Well, we
No,
love you.
we love you too.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
us here.
Yeah, thank you for being a blessing that you both are. I love your love. I can't wait to celebrate Pride with you. I can't wait to talk more Heartstopper, Queer Eye, and any new upcoming queer shows and content because I'm always going to need a debrief.
Yeah.
I can't wait to spend summer days with you at Hanlan's, which is Toronto's Queer Beach, and so much more. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I will always remember this. It is now forever documented and something that I could go back and listen to many times, and I know I will. I hope this was a really good experience for you. It's been an honor to have you as my guest and also as my host.
Yeah, it's been amazing. This has been so fun. It's been great to
Yeah.
just talk and hear your questions and get to question you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the playfulness of getting to question you is really fun as well. And also like I love the way we can demonstrate and lead and inspire others with family, queer joy and all the memories that you mentioned that we're gonna have and I cherish so much. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And finally, Guncle loves you.
Oh,
No,
we love you.
yeah, we love you too. I love you.
Love you too.
I'm Farhan Dalla. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode of Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast. I hope today's conversation has elevated you in some way and inspired you to connect, move, and meditate. I'd really appreciate your support by following and rating this podcast. Come back soon and join me for another transformative conversation.